Welcome. Why did the young boy remove his spine? Felt like it was holding him back. Haha. Okay, let's get to it. Straight to a series or a sequence. In particular, we're going to talk about a specific type of sequence called arithmetic sequences. For short, from now on, I'm going to call them APs. It just means arithmetic progressions. Progressions and sequences are kind of the same thing. And now we're just trying to show here that the special part about an arithmetic sequence means that all the terms have a common difference, right? Which means that we go up by the same number every time. So you can see for this first one, 10, 20, 30, 40, common difference, which is, what we usually denote for as D. So in this case here, we can see that here I'm going up by tens every time. Whereas in the second one, 3, 5, 7, 9, that's a bit easier. Common difference goes up by 2. And then for this one here, this last one, I can see that I'm actually minusing 6 every time. So that means my common difference for that sequence is -6. So again, common difference can go up, can go down, but I'm adding or subtracting. That's the way. So I'll make a little note here. It's like plus or minus. That's kind of the way that we determine that. Now, probably your important thing to note here is this is how we test or find the common difference. And you'll see that you will use this later on when we have a bit more difficult questions with pronumerals. But essentially, the difference between the third term and the second term needs to be the difference between the second term and the first term, which that kind of makes sense. Okay, now we often use this to find the common difference. That's kind of like your little handy hint there, not given in your reference sheet. So need to memorize that. Now, what is given in the reference sheet is this formula here, finding the nth term. Okay, so this formula here is given in your reference sheet. In other words, this is your generalized term, and it helps me to find, let's say, the 10th term, the 100th term, the, the 20th term, any term. Now, the way this formula works, it says Tn equals to A plus n minus 1 in brackets times D. A couple of things to note here from now on, whenever you see A in series and sequences, A represents your first term. N represents your number of terms. And D makes the most sense. It's going to be your common difference. Okay. So from now on, just remember that that's what these letters mean. Okay, now let's take a quick little example here. All right, I've got 3 parts of this question. So consider we've got a series here, 38, 33, 28, and then it continues. Side note here, just remember you always need 3 minimum before you can define if there's a pattern. 2 is not going to be enough because there's lots of different ways that we can get from 38 to 33. Or mathematically speaking, there's, I think, 2. But for this particular one here, we kind of want to, for these questions, I want you to find 3 numbers. Now, prove it's an AP. So remember, to prove it's an AP, I need to show that T3 take away T2 is the same thing as T2 take away T1. Okay, so I'm just going to label this here, T3, T2, T1, first term, second term, third term. And let's see, T3 take away T2, 28 take away 33 should equal the same thing as 33 take away 38. And they are both -5. And that tells me that my common difference is -5. Okay. And you can see, I know that we could have just seen you -5 every time, but whenever it's a proof question, you kind of want to go above and beyond. It's asking for a proof, so that there is my proof. Okay, now to find your 6th term, we remember that you have the formula Tn equals to A plus n minus 1 times D. And so if I'm finding the 6th term, I'm finding T6. Now for A, what was my first term? My first term was 38. And then my n was 6. And then my common difference we found was -5. Okay, so you're just going to calculate that. That ends up becoming 38 plus 5 times -5. So that's -25. And that should end up becoming 13. Is that 13 or 23? 13. That should be your sixth term. Okay. And to find the first negative term, again, you always use your Tn formula. So in this case here, we want Tn to be negative. It means I want Tn to be less than 0. And so again, I've got Tn, my formula is a plus n minus 1d, should be less than 0. Okay. So again, my first term going from here for this series was 38. I don't know what n is because I don't know how many terms, but I know my common difference is minus 5. Okay. So I'm going to solve this. I'm sorry, I should have said 38 plus. I don't know why I wrote equals. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Follow me with my algebra here. I'm just going to move this to the other side. So I have positive 5 bracket n minus 1 equals to 38. So I recognize that that negative there would have made it negative 5 lots of n plus 1. I've just moved it to the other side. Leaving the 38 on the left-hand side. So now I'm just solving for this. 38 should be less than 5n minus, I could have just divided by 5, couldn't I? That's okay. And I'll take it this way. Plus 5 to both sides. That becomes 43 is less than 5n. And then divide both sides by 5. And I note here that that is approximately 8.6. And so in this case here, that means that the 8th term, I haven't broken negative, but at the 9th term, I will. So that means my 9th term. How do I find my first negative or how do I find the 9th term? T9. And then again, I use that formula, a plus, in this case, 9 minus 1 times d. Again, I know my first term was always 38. And then 8 times minus 5, because that's my common difference. It's going to be 38 plus negative 40. And that sounds about right. It should be minus 2. So that means my 9th term will be minus 2, and that's my first negative term. Hope that helps. I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, bye.